Hey guys, thanks for joining me this week on For All Things Lexington. It's the only show dedicated to Lexington, South Carolina. Here, you'll hear me talk to people, groups, bands, and organizations about where to go, what to do, and who's who in and all around our beautiful Lake Murray. I'm your host, Angela Barrett, and this is For All Things Lexington.
The For All Things Lexington podcast has been brought to you in part by...
I enjoy listening to the Talking South Carolina podcast in my car, at work, or all cozy and warm at home on a cool South Carolina day. You should too. Check out the podcast and Angela Barrett at talkingsouthcarolina.com.
Hey, Brian, thanks so much for being with me today and agreeing to do this. I am excited. I have been... I think we've been hounding Hannah, your right-hand man, there for a while now, trying to get you on here.
Hey, Angela, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what we have always known as Malfunction Junction in Columbia, what is now called Carolina Crossroads. Tell me, one, how this project came to be. I mean, what was the reasoning that this got started?
Sure. Carolina Crossroads had its genesis really decades ago. Whenever I think about it, I think how kind of amazing this interchange is when it functions well, and and how much it struggles when it doesn't function well. We as SCDOT have known for years and years that it has some significant challenges, and it's always been one of really three major pinch points in the state along I-26 and I-385 that we wanted to relieve. And so one of them is done, I-385 at I-85 up at Greenville.
Right.
And now we're on the second one. That is Malfunction Junction. I mean, let's just call it as the public does. And what we're really trying to do is to fix it in such a way where we earn a new name.
That was realized project, right?
Yeah, we can call it Project Carolina Crossroads, now, but it needs to earn it.
Yeah.
Right. So we want it to be that Malfunction Junction is a thing of the past.
Right. Yeah. It'll take a while though, because my whole life, that's what, as long as I've lived in Columbia, at least, that's what it's been. So that'll take a while, but we'll work on that. And so you knew it had to be, and for decades y'all have known this, but when did the pen hit the paper and say, let's start?
Yeah, back in the early 2010s, we convened a group to look at, would there be something that we could do that's a relatively low cost, but a high impact change? And so we took at least a year, really more, to do in-depth studies on that. And when we finally got to the end of it, it was, yes, there are some things we could do, but to really make significant improvements to congestion and to safety, it really needed an overhaul.
Yeah.
And so in 2014, SCDOT hired an engineering company to develop an environmental impact statement and a preliminary design. And that step would take us to what we would consider, you've heard that term, shovel ready. And so if the funding ever appeared or was designated, then we'd be ready to take action. So starting in 2014, and I got involved in the project in 2015 as the project manager. So starting in 2014 and 15, we developed that environmental impact statement. So we had our first public meeting in 2015. And then we continued to have meetings and do a ton of preliminary engineering design, public involvement, environmental screening, and other work. That was all the background to where we got to 2019. And in May of 2019, we got the technical term is a record of decision for our final environmental impact statement. And that was basically the Federal Highway Administration's seal of approval, and said, you guys did all the right stuff. Your design will work. and you can move forward with actual construction. And so, and to make this just a tad more complicated, kind of in the middle of that funding that we always had wanted to plan for really materialized through a variety of sources, and sort of our dream to fix it, to be shovel ready, became a reality as we were becoming shovel ready. So it was a great opportunity. Just kind of things lined up right. So it was not only the right time to fix it, we had the money to do it.
Yeah, that helps. So when was the, I'm going to say first day, but roundabout, that the first shovel went in?
Yeah, November 8th, 2021.
Yeah.
Was the groundbreaking.
And so that started what I consider between on 26, but going into downtown Columbia. It started in that span between 20 and downtown.
Right. Yeah.
That stretch.
Yep. And we call that phase one.
Okay.
Centered along Colonial Life Boulevard at I-126. And that's sort of one segment. The other segment reaches from there across the Saluda River and goes towards US 378 and widens there in preparation for some other work that's coming in later phases.
Right. So, yeah, that looks totally different. If the first time I drove from downtown backwards to 20 at night, I thought, am I on the right road? Let's just go somewhere. It really looks that different. And I know it will continue to get that way. So what phase are we in now?
Great. So we've got two phases that are under construction and almost complete. So phases 1 and 2 are going on at the same time. They both should be complete in the spring. We can't really pave a lot, the final surface, during the winter cold months. So some of the work that we could do in this month, January, February, it's got to wait until like later March and April.
As our northern friends laugh at us about our cold, but yes, I get it.
That's so true. So yeah, we got phases 1 and 2 under construction right now. And phase 2 is over by Broad River Road at I-20. So it's separated from phase 1. So as folks drive, along I-20, maybe going towards the beach, towards Florence, they'll see that work that's right at the Broad River and right at Broad River Road. It's a completely new interchange, completely new type, and it's really going to relieve a lot of that congestion on Broad River Road trying to get onto I-20, especially in the mornings, going eastbound.
Okay. So that brings me to my next question. Tell me the scope, what area, give me a picture of where all this is going to cover. Where are we covering?
It's a massive project. It's 14 miles worth of interstate. So it's predominantly centered on I-26 as the spine, and it goes from exit 101, which is Lake Murray Boulevard up in Irmu, and it goes all the way down to almost to 378, like right at Lexington Hospital. So that's the I-26 piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an I-20 piece that's from the Broad River in the east over towards US 378 again, but this time on I-20, almost to 378. So it goes across the river. And then we have that little piece that you mentioned of I-126, about a mile or so from the western end of I-126 aiming towards downtown. So altogether, it's those 14 miles that comprise not just Malfunction Junction as people like to talk about it, but really those aspects that lead up to it and feed it and disperse traffic from there. So that it's not just the center hub. It's really a solution to fixing all these, all the destination points that are local to make sure it feeds right into the next phase, the next piece of interstate that takes you to all the other places you want to go.
Right. So I do sort of still see this kind of as the center, though, of the center of this whole project, because that really is that piece that was out of whack. I'll leave it like that. It just, no matter which way you were getting off or coming on, it seemed to be a mess, especially at your high traffic times. Everybody's going to work, coming home from work. So that seems to be, the middle of the web, I guess I would say, in my layman terms. So help everybody understand, because, there's they're like 10 years. This is going to take 10 years. There's a lot that goes. I mean, it took how many years to get this, like you said, the first shovel in the ground. We have to worry about everybody's safety, so we know that. So tell everybody why this takes this long.
I love this question. Yeah, I love this question.
I'm sure you get it a lot.
I do, and it's the right question. When do I want Malfunction Junction fixed? 20 years ago, right? What's the next best thing is as soon as we can, and it has to be as soon as we can safely. So I liken a project like this, because traffic has to continue to drive through here. It's like you're cooking Thanksgiving dinner while having a renovation going on in your kitchen at the same time.
Yes.
And so it's challenging. And then not only that, but the folks who are cooking dinner are driving through at 60 miles an hour. So it takes a tremendous amount of coordination to make sure that traffic can continue to flow through at the same time as we're making a $2 billion investment in improving this interchange. So that's the big challenge. That's one of the two reasons why big transportation projects take a long time. The other reason is there is, by law and by SCDOT's own desire, a tremendous amount of public input and advance work that we do to make sure that when we do something this big, it's the right solution and it's done the right way. And, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So the only problem with an ounce of prevention is sometimes it takes a while to develop. So here we are. And those are the two biggest reasons why major transportation projects, they take a long time to mature and to deliver on the ground.
But 10 years, that's a long time.
It is. It is.
Go ahead.
Well, some of the other things, so project specific, is that in order to get the best deal for the taxpayer, we needed to break up this project into smaller chunks. We are not building this ourselves, as most people know. Most highway projects are actually constructed by the private sector. And a lot of times they're designed by private sector engineering firms like this one. And when you do that, the private sector can do a couple things. They can bring their best price by competition, and they can bring an enhanced design. So we're doing some special procurement that I won't get into too much detail, but really what we're allowing the private sector to do is to build us a better mousetrap. So we did this preliminary engineering, and the private sector takes it to the next step. But what we needed to ensure to get that best price and the best competition is that we had to make it into smaller pieces and break this whole 14 miles up into now quite a few pieces. And that's going to allow more competition. When these projects get enormous, there are only a few players who are capable and willing on each project to place a bid or to pursue it. And so with that limited pool, then the competition's a little more limited, and it's just not the best deal. So by breaking it up, we wind up with a better deal on each individual piece. And then the benefit of that is not only the financial benefit to the taxpayer, but it's also that benefit where we get incremental improvement. So with each piece we do, you get a benefit that helps this traffic congestion relieve itself.
You just spawned off a whole lot more questions for me, so I'm going to start with this. First, let's talk about the players that are involved, and you don't have to name names as far as people, but the types of industries, Because, like you said, you've got the engineering firm, and then you've got you guys, obviously. Who are the other players in this massive project?
Yeah, it takes a lot of different folks. So to actually deliver, we are working underneath the Federal Highway Administration, and they're part of U.S. Department of Transportation. They have responsible care of the interstate highway system writ large. And so everything we do has to fit within all of their parameters, all their criteria. And the benefit is two benefits. One, that's the only way you could do a highway interstate project. And two, if this is 90% federally funded. So they are an absolutely critical partner in bringing this to bear. And they've been great to work with. And we continue to work with them as we're moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have each of the individual prime contractors that is the responsible constructor for each phase. And those contractors have lots of subcontractors that do specialty work. And then among those, there's also material suppliers. If you can imagine the amount of material that winds up concrete, steel, asphalt, and the asphalt's made of aggregate and asphalt cement, which is the tarry black stuff that holds all the rocks and sand together that makes up asphalt. It is an enormous amount. Haulers, and they're pulled from all over the place. Some local, some a little distant, and you wind up with some specialty folks that do things. Even we had people come in from Florida as subcontractors to tie rebar together on bridge decks. It takes a tremendous amount of folks. We've had at least 500 different professionals work, engineers and scientists on the front end, and a tremendous number, hundreds of contractors, folks working on the back end, actually doing it, the work. And then there will be more. So we estimate about 1,300 jobs will be created through the whole kind of from here to the end of Carolina Crossroads as it's built, with about an $860 million influx to the local economy.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or know someone you'd like to see on the show, contact me at forallthingslexington.com. That's the number 4, allthingslexington.com.
And by Angela Barrett at HomeMattersSC.com. Building on what matters to you.